Hi everyone, Jared here with Day Traders FX. I hope you guys are having a great week. We're having a pretty darn good one. We're going to talk about some of the setups we're in. We're having a good week. The U.S. markets are not quite as much, but Dow's still holding above 14,000, but had another down day today. S&P still above 1,500, but had a little bit of a down day, and oil's getting hit pretty hard, which is perfectly fine with me. Okay, so as far as news and what we've seen happen today, we had the GDP, which came out better than we revised the number up, so it was negative 0.1. We got a positive 0.1, but still the expected was 0.5%, and we were way off of that. Unemployment claims were a little bit better than that expected, but not enough to really do a lot of good movement there. And then in coming into tomorrow, we have a little bit of U.S. news, a little bit of Canadian news. Canadian GDP, we have the manufacturing PMI for the UK, and then we have the ISM, which is a decent little mover, and Bernanke speaks yet again. So tomorrow will be active. Remember, we don't do too much in the Friday morning sessions, but I will check in kind of later in the morning and see if anything's looking good. I checked in last Friday morning and kind of called a little last minute trade and ended up paying out about 150 pips. So we'll see if we can get there. Let's look at a couple of setups. The euro dollar has been running around and doing some weird kind of choppiness and giving us some nice little movements. You can see right here that the euro dollar kind of ran up here, hit resistance, and came down. From yesterday's daily wrap-up session, we talked about looking for this to run up to about 13200, 200 moving average, and so on, and coming down from there. And it only made it up to 131.60, a little above 60, and then it's been coming down since. Now, my gut instinct was still correct that I think we're going to get another test of 130, if not below, and I think we might be headed into that below, and that would put us down at about 12900, 128.75 kind of area, that next low of December of last year, and I think there's a possibility of that. So we're going to be looking for that. For the moment, we're looking at taking a trade, then we kind of just didn't end up trading this one this morning, and it moved nicely. Just watch this 130.50. This level has held very well the last several days. You can see all week long, and it's turned out to be a pretty good level. So watch that, but I'm not ready to trade anything just yet on this euro dollar. The pound dollar is looking pretty good. We took a short right up here in the group this morning at 151.95. You can see that's looking pretty good. It's up about 30 pips. Excuse me. I'm looking for this to run down at least to the missed pivot point, at least to this area right here, 151.45. And I think the pound dollar is going to continue to sell off. It's run up. We had some spinning tops here and so on. We just continue to double top at this resistance in a major downtrend. And so I think this pound dollar's actually got some pretty good legs to probably continue that downside movement. As far as an entry goes right now, I still like trading against this high right here. Now, the high happens to be about 60 pips away. So an opportunity to get a little bit of retracement up here. Maybe if this thing bumps up into 151.80-ish area or so, look to short against this high around that level. I think that'll be a good one to watch and trade and look for and so on. So about, again, this high is about 152.20, and we're sitting here about 151.62. So again, if we get a little bit of a run up, shorting against that high and that double top is still a good, interesting move, I think. And so that's what I'll be looking for. We'll talk a little bit more about this in the daily wrap-up session where we can get into a little more detail on the moves because a lot of things are kind of underway right now and we're waiting for them. So make sure you join us in the daily wrap-up session. You can find the link on my Twitter. You can also find it in your email. If you haven't joined my email list, you can go to daytradersfx.com and just put your email in there. Of course, everything's kept private and no spam. So that's a little bit of what I'm looking at there. Again, we're short the Aussie dollar as well. Up here, we're sitting in some pretty nice profit on that Aussie dollar, 30 plus pips. Again, there's not much to get into on this Aussie dollar. Remember our daily wrap-up session, we talked about shorting between 102.75 and 10300. It made it nicely up into that area and came down nicely. Didn't give me all the reversal candles that I wanted to see, but so far, it made a pretty nice little move. And so we're short in this pair already. I think the Aussie dollar is going to be able to run nicely into 101.50, and that's what I'm kind of counting on / looking for, that 101.50. But again, I don't know what the entry could be at this point. We'd want to see some retracement to trade against that high, but I think this is a little bit of a wait and see. Now, let's get to some pairs that can give us some entries. Gold's down. The euro yen has kind of turned out to run along pretty nicely here. You can see that we've got this low right here and kind of this little trend line, and you can see both these guys seem to be playing out fairly well. We're bouncing around in this trend line. A break of this trend line gives us a nice little opportunity to trade this back down to those lows, especially if the euro dollar continues to be bearish and kind of sells off and so on. Then I like this euro yen break of the trend line. Now, of course, we want to get our stops above the highs, and of course that high is 70 pips away now. So, all of that, but just be cautious and careful and look for the opportunity to break, trade the break of this trend line and take this pair down. Yesterday, my recommendation was trade the break of 121.20. And we saw that run up about 65 pips. We wanted to take out that missed pivot, which we did, and now it's coming back down. So look for a break of this trend line and a continuation down. If it doesn't break that trend line, we've got a nice upper trend line that we can see break and get a nice buying opportunity out of that. That's one. And the other is another yen pair, which is the Aussie yen. And we've got this daily low right here. The Aussie's pretty bearish. Yen pairs seem like they might be selling off just a little bit. We've got this channel this thing's been in, and it's just coming shy of the 200-day moving average. But we've got this big missed daily pivot right here. We actually came close to it back here with this wick, but overall we really missed that daily pivot, and that daily pivot sits down there almost 60 pips. So I think below this 94 kind of 35 area, I think we've got a nice opportunity to trade down into this support. It's just a quick, 35, 40 pips, but nonetheless, that should be a nice little run and a nice little mover. And then likewise, with the pound dollar selling off, I like the pound yen. Now, we have to be careful because the yen pairs have been so bullish, but if we do get a break of this trend line on the pound yen and we're kind of coming off of some of these moving averages and so on, and you can see that this thing has kind of bottomed out a little bit and it's bounced, but I think that this trend line could give us a good opportunity to just trade that break back into that support, back into those lows. And of course, that's 200 pips down there, and I'm not proposing that we go for the full 200 pips, but there should be an easy 50 pips on this breakout of the pound yen. So keep an eye on that. And then last but not least, Euro Aussie is getting closer. It's not quite to a setup just yet, but it definitely is getting closer to something. We're holding in this channel, and we're getting ready to kind of break out of this thing. So I'm looking for definitely some nice movement on that and a good breakout there. So best of luck. Make sure to join us in the daily sessions. Remember, it's this week only that the daily wrap-up sessions are free and open to everybody. And today is our last one, actually, because we won't have one on Friday because the markets will be closed and we'll be done. But the daily wrap-up sessions are at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern time, and we go over all these, answer questions. The link should be in your email and on Twitter as well. Take care, everyone. Best of luck.